Hey everybody, good morning. I'm glad that you guys can make it this early in the morning here in San Francisco. I am Denise Kwan and
I'm Aron Eidelman.
And we are both developer advocates for Google. I specialize in developer tools and therefore Gemini CLI.
And I specialize in security and specifically AI security.
So today's session, we're going to actually be doing two back-to-back sessions. The first one is getting started with Gemini CLI. How many of you guys have used Gemini CLI? Okay, a couple of people seems to have used it. How many of you guys have used a web-based Gemini? So gemini.google.com. So it looks like a lot of people have used that. Well, this session is pretty much telling you how to use Gemini CLI, the difference between doing that on a web-based gemini.google.com, and then we're going to go in and teaching you some in the next session because it is split up between a basic coding as well as advanced. The next session we're going to go deep dive more into how to configure it for your usage and how to get the most out of this tool. So what is Gemini CLI? Gemini CLI is an open sourced terminal application that you can use just like gemini.google.com using conversational AI agent, natural language. And obviously it's going to be powered by the Gemini models. What is nice is that it is a terminal application, and especially for those who are engineers or people who use a terminal application a lot, they're going to be very familiar with being able to use it. So what is the advantage of a terminal application versus going to gemini.google.com? Well, it has direct file access. So of course you have to give it permissions because I know a lot of people are scared that AI is going to take over my whole computer or anything like that. You will launch it off of a particular folder and you will give it permissions saying, yes, I do want you to have access to this particular folder. So it's not like it has access to everything. And it actually gives you a warning when you try to go onto the root and launch it off of there and be like, you probably shouldn't do this. So it has direct file system access. Well, what's good about that is that the agent is going to be able to understand all the code that you have. It can actually go in and read that all into the context, being able to have a full understanding of what you are trying to accomplish. Versus using some web-based one, you're going to have to go in and upload certain files or tell it what you want it to do. Context awareness, because it has access to your whole system, of course, again, giving permissions, it does have access to all your tools. So any of the CLIs that you have installed, any of the SDKs that you have, any of, anything that you can do on your computer, it can do for you. And then all in one, you don't need to go and copy paste everywhere. You don't need to go switch tabs. You can do everything all in one place, so there's no context switching. Then also, there are web-based tools that you can have MCP servers, Model Context Protocol, which you will learn a little bit in my session, as well as further sessions in today's session, later on today. And you can extend it. So not only do you have your agent, but you have the ability to extend it, touching other data, other services, other tools, being able to do what you need it to do. Gemini CLI also has this concept called Gemini CLI extensions, and all of these things that I'm talking about now, we're going to go a little bit more into depth later on. But with extensions, you can make it easy to install. I don't know how many of you have tried to use MCP servers, and you have to go into your settings.json and go and modify everything and get really frustrated. We have a one command install to be able to install this all for you and makes it a piece of cake. Automation and scripting. If you're using any web-based AI tool, there's no way to go and integrate that into your CI/CD pipeline or your automation or crawl it from your script. But with Gemini CLI being a terminal-based one, just like anything that you can do in your terminal, you can go in and automate any of this process, as in helping your own code or your own services run something through AI and spit out some output. And last, customization. Earlier, I had mentioned that it is open source. Well, like any open source product, you can go and modify it yourself. So let's say that there's something that in Gemini CLI that you do not like or that you want. feel free to go and modify it for you. And if you like the code that you wrote, you can go in and put in a PR request, and we will evaluate it, and maybe your code will end up being in the product itself. But not only that, but when you are using any web-based AI tool, you have to go in and upload some PDFs to say what persona you want, or upload some sort of context, or upload this in order for it to want to do what you want it to do. Well, the advantage is that with Gemini CLI being on your laptop, you can have context files straight on your laptop. You can have it there. You don't have to do it every single time that you want to use these AI tools. So also, we have a lot of built-in tools. Because it is on your computer, we have a bunch of file system tools being able to read, write, analyze, replace stuff, all on your file system. And since we are Google, we have lots of web tools. We have the ability to have all of the context of Google search. Usually the first thing that you like to do when you don't know something other than use AI is to go and Google something. And so we have that advantage of being able to Google search. So if the agent does not already know what it wants to do, it has the ability to go search for it, analyze the results, and go and execute that. And then what's nice is there's shell tools. You cannot get that on a web-based AI tool, and you can run shell commands, and I will show that to you in a little bit, how we even have interactive shell mode, being able to go in and work on your shell, everything that is in the shell mode, and have that as context. And like I mentioned, lastly, MCP servers, that is kind of universal between all of different agent tools, but obviously we have to support that as well. So one thing that I like to stress is that Gemini CLI AI tools are not just for engineers. So people believe that just because it is a terminal tool that, oh, only an engineer would use it. Oh, you could only do it with code. And that is not true. We want to show that Gemini CLI is for everybody. You know, a use case could be that if you're somebody in marketing and you need to go build some social assets, rather than going and using one tool to make your image, and then you're going to go and use another tool to go and create your text that you're going to put in your social, and then another tool you're going to put it in and to post all of your social. Well, you can actually create a workflow and do it all in one off of one tool and never leave your system. You can have Nano Banana, which is, I'm sure a lot of people have heard, is our image generation model. You can have Nano Banana go and generate you some image, and you can have just the general AI to go and write you a text. And then you can have an MCP server connecting to your social to be able to do the post. And it's totally doable. I've done it in a demo myself. Won't be demoing it in this particular one, but that's one of the use cases. Let's say you are a data analyst and you have a whole bunch of files that you need to analyze, and a lot of it is customer data that you do not want to have, that is very confidential. Then you can have those files on your system and make sure that it is in a secure way, do a lot of the analyzing, and have some sort of dashboard, create a dashboard. That's another use case. And so it's not just for coding, it is good for all other things as well. So what's nice is that Gemini CLI actually does have a free tier. We give 1,000 model requests per user per day, 60 model requests per user per minute, and we have access to a 1 million token context. And that's one of the larger ones, if not still the largest so far with all the different ones out there. So definitely you want to take advantage, play around with it. It's not going to cost you anything. And I don't know, I believe that you guys were given an email. I'm sure you did not necessarily read it because we all don't. But I highly encourage everybody to install Gemini CLI and walk through it, play around with it in this session. We won't, just like Randall said, are encouraging you to play around with these things. Don't feel like you're not paying attention to us because you're playing around with it. Because after all of this, we will be available. If anybody runs into stuff, have questions, we are here to help you. And so if you are interested, go and install Gemini CLI and play around while we are going through the session. You want to go talk about your different things that you've done?
Sure, yeah. So I don't really work on Gemini CLI at Google, but I certainly use it. And I use it working on some internal security projects and things that are completely kind of disparate, whether it's front end or writing Terraform. So I've really gotten to see kind of how it works as a user. And in particular, there's a developer named Paul Hammond who was advocating for using test-driven development with Gemini CLI. So I got really into that because a lot of the consternation people have about vibe coding in particular is the fact that LLMs will create these huge projects that try to do everything at once, and then there are all these bad practices like making these huge changes as opposed to these small iterative changes. And as Randall mentioned earlier, security is a part of software quality. But likewise, something we've seen at Google in DORA, DevOps Research and Assessment, is that software quality also has a big impact on security. When you're doing smaller changes and really testing for quality, that actually makes it a lot easier to implement security, to do things like DevSecOps and so forth. So, just seeing, especially for writing Terraform, I don't think I write any of my own Terraform anymore, like for the past year at least. It's all vibe coding. Granted, with a lot of testing and with, small iterative steps.
Cool. So speaking of not actually writing things anymore, something as simple as, if for all the engineers, Git commands. Yes, we're going to remember how to add. We're going to remember how to commit, those basic things. But what if you screwed up and you accidentally committed an env file that you need to pull off of your repo? Are you going to remember how to actually go and do that? Well, I don't, and I actually did that, I think, a month ago, where I'm like, oh my God, I just accidentally did this. And I just went into Gemini CLI and say, can you remove this for me from the whole Git repository? And it went through probably like a good 3 Git commands. I probably wouldn't have remembered how to do it, but it went in and cleaned it all up for me. So one of the nice things is not just, oh, I already know how to do this. Why do I need somebody else to do it? Well, there's a lot of commands and syntax that you don't remember anymore because you don't do it on a daily basis, and it's something that makes it easy for you to just tell it in natural language what you want it to do. So that is the whole gist of what Gemini CLI is. I hope you all took the time to install it. If you did not notice, you can go in the instructions. You can go and use your own personal Gmail account. That puts you into free tier, and you can play around with it. So I am going to go and vibe code live. So this is live. I don't know what's going to come. It might give me errors. It might not come up the first time around. So we're going to show you, and if it doesn't, we're going to show you how Gemini is able to fix the issues itself. So we call it choose your own adventure. You don't have to do what I'm doing. That's probably not going to be of interest of you. So you vibe code whatever you feel like doing and play around with it, and I think that's probably going to be the best because you can vibe code something that actually matters to you. So let me go in and to my terminal. So let me go actually exit, oops. So when you're in your terminal, all you do after you installed it the way with the instructions, all you do is just run Gemini. And this is Gemini CLI. And are you guys able to see the? A little larger. Oh, what? A little larger. Larger, even more? More? Yeah, that's good. Good? Okay. So this is how it looks like, and basically you just start with the prompt, and I have kind of created some sort of prompt. So basically, build me a modern and stylish t-shirt shop web app using Python, Flask, and SQLite. I created some images using Gemini CLI. So I have Nano Banana installed, and I created some random images. But let's just say you already have some images. You have your t-shirts. You took a picture of it. And so the images of the t-shirt for the shop can be found in this particular folder. So if I have them in this particular folder, and I want the main page to list the merchandise of the name, the image, the price, and users should be able to search for the product. So this is my whole full definition of what I want. So, like I said, we are vibe coding. I don't know what's going to come. And so if you notice, the first thing that it does, it's actually ask. So again, a lot of people are scared. It's going to go do all this stuff. It's going to go haywire. Theoretically, we do have a YOLO mode, which means, yes, go and do what you want. I myself do not really use that because I myself am too scared to let it just go off and do everything on its own. So it does ask you, do you want to allow this execution? And I am always going to let it go. So as you can see, it's not going to go and free for all, go and do whatever it wants. So it's saying, I'm going to want to go and move the files that you provided over to the static images. Yes, I want you to be able to do that. And for those who do not want to be able to keep on saying yes, 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 you could go to YOLO mode. We also have checkpointing, which Aron is going to cover later on today, to keep your code safe. Or if you have a Git repo, then you can go in and have your commit so that you can always revert back if the AI decides to do what you don't want it to do. So here's going to start creating the database file for you. I'm going to keep on letting it go do whatever it wants. And here we go. It's going to go in, and the Python is going to go and initialize my database. So now my database is ready. And looking like it's populating the product script and creating my code for me. So all I did so far was I just gave it a prompt, and it's just going, making the CSS file. And so honestly, like if you think to yourself, do you think that at this rate that we're going right now, that even though you know how to do it, would you be able to do it at this rate, right? So no way that I will be able to code. I have many, many years, like 20 years of coding experience. I cannot write code as fast as this. There are always going to be things that you will specialize in, things that no AI knows right now. So I think in the industry, I think a lot of people get this misunderstanding that said AI is going to take over everything. AI is going to do everything for you. There is situations where AI is great and situations where you probably shouldn't use it. So you need to understand what it could do, what it's strong at, so that you can pick and choose when to be using this. And so as I'm talking, lots of stuff is going on. And what is great about it is that you can actually go and do other things. I could have gotten and grabbed a cup of coffee while this is going. I could have done anything else. I don't have to actually like physically sit here, especially if you go and use YOLO mode, which, like I said, I don't really like to use, but you can always flip back and forth if you wanted to. But as you see, since I did give it permission to do the stuff that I wanted it to do, then it's just running through all of the code for me. And although it seems like it's taking a little bit of time, it's building out a full-on web app, being able to go and deal with your shopping cart, logins, which although it is not the most secure right now, and being able to do all of those stuff. So it looks like it detected that it needs some dependencies. So this is what's nice about having a terminal application, is that it knows what dependencies, and it's asking me, do I want to allow it to install? And I'm saying, yes, go and install these dependencies. If you are doing this on some other tools or even an IDE extension, it will not necessarily be able to do this for you. So here it is creating a virtual environment and installing these dependencies for me. So what's nice is that it can detect what tools it needs, and if you do not have it installed on your system, it will actually prompt you to ask you if you want to get it installed. So all within that, I probably should have timed it, but that could have taken at most, 5 minutes or so? It says that it's ready, so let's take a look, and it launched it for me. And let's take a look at what it built. Oh, pretty sweet. It doesn't always look this pretty, which every time I do it. So again, it really, really depends on how it feels that day. You really need to treat it like it's a human being. You know, some days it has bad days, some days it has good days, and you cannot control that. Even I, or myself, working closely with the product, we have no control. So looks pretty cool. These are the images that I generated with Nano Banana. And if I want to go and add the cart, so it looks like it says I needed to log in. So let's say I only said I wanted it to log in for checking out. So what I could do is I'm going to go back to my Gemini CLI and say, I only want login for when the user checks out, not when they are adding to the cart. So I just tell it that's not what I want. So let's see what it actually goes. So now it looks like it's going to go modify it. It's modifying the app that it created and chugging along over here and figuring out. So let's just say, which happens all the time, that you launched it and it says like 404 or like it cannot load. Well, what's nice about these types of tools is you can go in and copy the error that you get on the screen and say, hey, I got this error. And part of me was hoping that that was going to happen, but I guess it did not. You can say, hey, I got this error, and it will go in and debug the issue for you. I mean, how many people have gone and tried to launch some sort of web app and got an error, and you're sitting there banging on your head trying to figure out why you are having this issue? So it looks like it went in and made the change. So let's see if I go and add to the cart, and looks like nothing's happening right now. So looks like we go back to Gemini CLI. And this is what vibe coding is all about. So when I try to add to the cart, nothing happens. And we are going to go. So like I said, I'm vibe coding. I have no clue what is coming up next. So we're going on the ride together. And so again, examining the code, making the change. And so if you really think about it, this is the way that we do as an engineer as well. Every time when we write the code, most of the time it's not one shot. I mean, we would be fantastic engineers, and probably if you have been in the industry for a ridiculous amount of time, but most of the time it's not one shot. So we shouldn't have that expectation as well that we're going to one shot everything. Although I've gotten pretty close with this one time. And so let me go and refresh that. We go and add it to the cart. Looks like still not working. So we can go through this iterative process as much as we can. I don't think that that's super interesting, seeing all of us just keep on going through. But as you see, if we have any sort of issues with it, you basically can go back and ask it to go and fix these problems. And yes, did you have a question?
Yeah. Can we use VS Code and do this also?
You can use VS Code. So we have multiple tools for you. And so I think for us at Google, we say, okay, yes, we have gemini.google.com. We also have Code Assist, which is an extension on VS Code, but also Gemini CLI. Gemini CLI has an IDE extension where you can have it and you put it into your configuration of Gemini CLI, and it's in the settings, and you will say, this is my external IDE that I want to use, so when you do it, it can open it up over there. And so yes, you can do it in VS Code, and VS Code is one of the supported. I am not sure. I don't.
But I'll show you VS Code after this. Yep.
Yeah.
All the features what you get in terminal is also there in VS Code?
Yeah. So basically, it's Gemini CLI onto VS Code. So yes, you get everything, all the same things available for it. Oh, question. Yeah, so the question is that in my example, I used a brand new empty folder, so obviously when it's building it, it's creating the context for you. And so have I done it where I have a big repo where I have all of the files and is it able to go and read it. So in the built-in tools that I showed earlier, there's a read many files. So when you whenever you start the Gemini CLI, the whole thing of understanding context, it will go and read all of the files of what there is. And so when it does that, then it now has all of the existing files in the context as if it created it itself. So one of the demos that I have done a couple months ago, it was to actually build, it was very meta. We used Gemini CLI to add audio input into Gemini CLI, and it actually is able to go and read all of them and add in this feature. So definitely yes, and that is the beauty of why a terminal agent does better than like a web-based one or something like that. So it definitely can have that, actually does by default have that ability to read your existing project. All right, so like I said, basically my whole point is that it is an iterative process. And so the time it took me to go and build this is probably going to be way faster than it would have taken you to build it yourself. And is it perfect? No. But can we get it perfect? Yeah, probably, right? So I think the big thing is really the way that I look at a lot of these tools is to use it like your personal assistant. Have it do some of the tasks for you. Your personal assistant doesn't do all your tasks. They're going to do some of your tasks, and you're going to go and hand off a lot of these things for them to do. And they'll get it to a good point. And yeah, if you wanted to, I could have sit here and I can iterate through all of that stuff for this whole thing, and we'll get to it. I just don't think it's a good use of your time. But I just wanted to show you that it does have the ability to do something cool, just like this, and this is just one of the examples.